let's kind of stay in basketball here, are moving forward. We have a couple of series, of course, that have already ended. Oklahoma City has been through for a couple of days. As we sit here and record this, San Antonio dispatched Portland last night. What are your thoughts with some of the remaining series that are coming up? Again, a big one coming up this evening as we record out there in LA between the Rockets and Los Angeles as they look to knock off Houston.
Yeah.
You didn't
I
get
think
it.
Austin.
Could you try again?
I think Austin Reeves is due to come back for the Lakers, and I think that'll be big. The Lakers are still firmly in control, but you never ever want to see a 3-0 lead go to 3-2 and then have to go on the road for game 6. So a little bit of pressure on the Lakers, but still you're up 3-1. 3 games are at home. So I feel fine about them. Cavs Raptors tonight. That's been a good series. The home teams have controlled it. Will that continue? Did the Pistons stay alive against the Magic? We talk about too many teams making it in the NBA, but here's an 8 seed about to knock off a 1. And they've looked the better team the whole series. And that's one of the things I'll give NBA credit for. I don't like in the NFL with that many people getting in, that many teams getting in, because all you got to do is be hot one night, right? In the NBA, you've got to earn it. You've got to go out there and beat a team 4 times. So if you do that, kudos to you. You're the better team. That's what the Magic have done thus far. I'm anxious to see if they're able to finish it off in Detroit tonight. Otherwise, they'll go back to Orlando for a game 6. But and then, of course, the Nuggets Timberwolves are tomorrow night, and that series has been heated. It's a rivalry. And you've got all the injuries in that series that have impacted it. And that has become a war of attrition that right now seems to be a battle for who's going to lose to San Antonio because each team's so banged up. It's be interesting to see what develops.
Yeah, that Magic Pistons series gives me, I believe, 07 Mavs Warriors vibes. It's almost like Baron Davis has stepped out and put on a Magic uniform. Still have nightmares about that one, but that one's kind of giving me those kind of flashbacks for sure. And Detroit's literally got their back against the wall. Man, a 60 win team should not have to struggle this much to get through a first round matchup. Take your hat off to Orlando for even making this a series.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, before this ever started, that this Pistons team is a very good team that has very little in the way of playoff chops. And it's showing right now. They just the Magic actually have probably more playoff experience than the Pistons do, and they certainly do look like it right now.
The NBA also yesterday released their anti-tanking plan, which kind of is – I really want to chuckle even having to say that. This is basically trying to provide – this is the backward world that we live in today, Matt. We have a professional sports league that has to create incentive to win rather than incentive to lose.
Yeah.
30 years ago, heck, 10 years ago, you could have been run out of the league for even suggesting or being caught trying to tank games in any league. I'm going to say this, and some of my local baseball fans and Astros friends are probably not going to agree with this, but you look back, this almost began with their decision back, in the 2010-ish era to, about a 4-year stretch there. And I don't know if you remember this, but the Astros back then during that stretch were basically fielding a team that wasn't even AAA level. They were so bad, and they were actively tanking in baseball. And that kind of started this era of tanking, if you will. and race to the bottom kind of mentality. Now, you can also look back and say the Astros did it successfully, right?
Yeah.
They ended up getting a couple World Series out of it and went to a couple more and got some, franchise type players because they were so bad for so long. Here in this, I'm going to cautiously watch what the NBA does here because this is a pretty detailed plan that they put out yesterday. And the way I understand it is it still has a couple of hurdles to get over, but those hurdles are very small. It's more like a formality of going through committees and getting owners' votes and everything. But this is pretty much a done deal in terms of how this is going to look. They call it a 3-2-1 lottery, which I don't still really understand even after studying it, over the last 24 hours. But the main thing for me is you're actually going to be encouraged to not be in the top three. You'll be encouraged more to be finished between 4 and 10, somewhere around in there, the middle zone, which gives you incentive if you are in the bottom three to try and win some games down the stretch to not be in that top three, right?
Right.
It's incentive to win rather than incentive to lose, which is kind of the way the system is built now.
Yeah, and I found, I believe it was a guy I follow on X, Ryan Hammer, who I think it was him. I follow him for a lot of things. If it's not him, it may have been somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it was him. I thought he had the best proposal of anybody that I've seen. His was, and I really like this. The idea is once you're eliminated from playoff contention, we calculate the number of wins you have from the moment you're eliminated, and whoever has the most wins gets the number 1 pick. Whoever has the second most wins gets the number 2 pick. So if you are eliminated early, you actually do have a leg up, and incentive to get after it. And so anyway, I thought that was a curious one. I kind of liked that, but yeah, it's, the whole point of the lottery was supposed to be to keep you from tanking, because just because you were the worst team didn't guarantee you the number 1 pick like it does in the NFL. But needless to say, it has not worked in that way.
The problem with that is you have teams that tank from the opening tip of the season. I mean, their goal is to get back in the lottery because they're rebuilding. San Antonio, they were extremely lucky, but they picked in the top 5 the last 3 years, I believe.
Yeah,
but they've gotten to that point with those odds of it being beneficial to them to tank, and they landed Wemby, they've landed all this other talent. Look where they are now. I mean, it's worked out for them, but this proposal would keep them from being able to pick in the top. I believe the top 5 picks or top 3. And maybe the top 3 under this proposal. You could not pick in the top 3. You could not have the number 1 pick in back-to-back years.
Gotcha.
Under this proposal. I'm like, still, even then, if you're in the lottery, just throw everybody's name in a hat and pull it out. Everybody has the same odds.
Yeah. Whether
you're the worst team in the league or the 12th worst team in the league, you got the same odds. If your name's pulled, we go to this weighted system to try and make people happy. Now we've got this problem because obviously the more you lose, the more, the higher your percentage goes. I just say make it fair across the board and do pull it out of the hat. And if your name is, just do it that way. Everybody has the same odds. We've made things just too complicated, and that turns me off about one of the other things about the NBA.